Welcome. It's so good to have you with us. Seeing everybody come on.
Everybody.
I hope you can feel the wonderful energy. We're so excited to be with you. And I just want to welcome you to tonight because this is really probably more than you realize what we're doing tonight. And I always love it because the masters often come and they will download information. And one of the wonderful things that we're going to be doing tonight is a intuition activation. And this wasn't something that we even said before we were doing this. So we're really excited that as we come together as a collective group with a collective intention to supercharge our intuition, we are creating what scientists call collective effervescence. And this is studied, it's scientifically researched. When groups come together with a common intention, magic happens, miracles happen. So we're looking forward to this evening. So welcome. We're broadcasting live from Sedona. And so we are in one of the highest vibrations on planet Earth. And Gina's in Sedona as well, at her house. I'm at mine. Welcome, Gina. It's so good to be here with you.
Yeah, thank you. We're just across town, but here we are.
Yes, here we are together, all together. It's such a wonderful thing. So one of the things that we do before, we prepare for these gatherings is we invite in the divine realms. We open the door to allow in the ascended masters, the angels, so that what we need can come through. So we're really excited about what's going to happen tonight. I want to start with a little bit about how Gina and I came together, because it's the perfect intuition story. It couldn't be more of how my intuition led me to Gina many, many years ago. And I was going through a difficult period in my life after I had an awakening, and many things in my life were falling apart, like my marriage, and various things were happening. And I was already in communication with the masters and already had a very serious meditation practice. But I didn't expect such specific, direct guidance when I started to just ask, what do I need to do? Who can help me? Please direct me in the right direction so that I can blossom, so that I can move to my next level of consciousness, what is needed. And who appeared but Jesus? Jesus. And he was very, very specific. And this came through clairaudience. I heard this, and I heard the specific words, 2 words, Gina Lake. And that's what he said, Gina Lake. And I thought, that's odd. I've never been given a name before like that, so specific. And I thought, I even doubted it for a second. Well, could there be a million Gina Lakes? I mean, so I went online, I Googled her, and there it was, her books. And I found her website, and I found that she did spiritual mentoring, and I reached out. And she really helped me through a period that, without her, who knows if I would have come out the other side. So thank
You
you,
would have
Gina.
been fine.
And that led to.
I wondered why you were even talking to me, actually. I was like, why is this woman even having a session with me?
Well, you were very helpful at the time. And I think there was a bigger picture than just that. And the bigger picture was for us to come together because we were both so connected to Jesus. And we had obviously been connected in other lifetimes. And
Mm.
we are also very in sync with the work that we are wanting to share with the world and are sharing with the world.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
So,
great story. And I've had a couple other people say that they actually heard my name also, and it's very surprising because it's rare that people get such specific guidance. But, if you are a channel, if you have that ability, it can certainly happen.
yeah, wonderful. Wonderful. Yeah. So, a couple things that I want to share with you. I want to back up way before this happened with Gina. When I first decided that I was going to get serious and really commit to opening up my gifts, my intuitive gifts, I did two things that really supercharged my intuition. And the first one was I joined a course on intuition development. And I got serious about learning practices and really working with my intuition. And the second was that I developed a daily spiritual practice that included meditation, which I did no matter what. And I did this for a year consistently. And what happened was after that year, things began to really open for me, really open. And it culminated with a beautiful divine being who appeared on my bed in 3D. So I was seeing clairvoyance and I was hearing her clairaudience. And this divine being was the triple goddess Bridget, the Celtic goddess, who I had never ever heard of, never read about, never knew about, which was a good thing. Otherwise, I would have thought I was making this up. And she began to explain to me who she was and how she was here to help me develop my gifts. And I began to slowly, I was able to channel, to work with her, and she would channel information through to me. And the point being that after that year of really committing to my spiritual practice and to my intuition development, many of my gifts open: clairvoyance, clairaudience, claircognizance. Now, before this, I was mainly clairsentient, meaning that I would feel things. And to me, it was a little bit of a curse. It didn't feel like a gift. And I'm
Yeah.
sure some of you can relate to that as empaths. If I was near someone, they had a stomach ache, I would feel that. Or if they were feeling anxious, I would feel that. And there was this real lack of discernment going on. However, as I learned to work with that gift and learn tools, not only did that gift develop and become not a curse, but a gift, but my other intuition, like clairaudience, clairvoyance, those began to develop as well. And this is one of the things that we really show you how to do in this course, because intuition is the voice of spirit, our true self. So we're not really doing this course so you can become psychic. We're doing it because we want you to live the life your spirit intended to live. That's really it. And so where we put together this wonderful program for you to really dive in and be supported in this safe and sacred container. And so tonight we're going to share some stories. We're going to do some tools and some intuition activation to help you. So let me start with just asking Gina to share a story. Would you like to share a story when your intuition was at play? I know you use it so fluidly now, but if you think back in your past.
Yeah, there are so many times when intuition was critical. Um, but again, actually, intuition is operating moment to moment all day long in my life, in your life. And it's just a matter of tuning into it. And that's why we call this living intuitively. Intuitive living. What did we call this? Living
Living
intuitively.
intuitively, yeah.
Yeah. Because what happens when your intuition is really well developed, your mind is quiet, and because that's what's necessary for your intuition to be really well developed. When you're not listening to your mind, you fall into a place of the flow. And in that flow, you're given instructions, in a sense. Your divine self takes care of all of your responsibilities in a comfortable, enjoyable way, rather than the ego's way, which is like a to-do list that it follows and that you follow. Most people live according to their to-do list in their head, and they feel burdened by that, and they're never doing it fast enough or good enough, and the to-do list is never finished. But there's another way to live, and that is to live intuitively in the flow. And when you do that, everything's enjoyable. You don't mind doing the things you need to do. And what happens is you discover is that your responsibilities get done, but you enjoy them instead of them being burdensome. You don't mind folding the laundry. You do it when you feel moved to fold the laundry. And it turns out that that is also functional. So that's what you all have to look forward to as you develop more intuitively. There's just a natural living in grace, you could say, or living in alignment with your divine self that just allows you to be at peace, to be relaxed, to be happy, and to just enjoy the little things and even the uncomfortable, what would generally be uncomfortable things, like going to the dentist or whatever. Nothing is a big deal when you're in alignment with your divine self. Everything is okay. It's always just one moment at a time, and this too can be enjoyable. This too can be okay. So obviously I didn't always live this way, and to answer your question, there are just so many really important kind of turning points where intuition was surprising in the guidance that was given me and where it led. So here's one very simple example, and I know you all have many examples in your life, and one of the great things about our course is we're going to have you contribute those examples or those experiences into the forum so that you can all see how prevalent it is for the intuition to be working in everybody's life. You don't have to be a channel to feel that intuition and guidance from unseen forces is behind life. So anyhow, here's a silly little example. This would happened a long time ago. It was 1997. And I came home from a trip, and I put my mail on the table, and there was one of those flyers from the little town. You know, everybody has those little flyers. And I flipped through it, and I've never in my life looked at the personal ads or read a single personal ad. But for some reason, intuition, I guess, I read the personal ads. And, you know, not only, of course, I wasn't thinking that I would ever answer a personal ad, but for some reason, I read through them. And there was a personal ad in there from someone who was very, obviously a real spiritually minded person that I thought sounded interesting. And lo and behold, I contacted him. We had a date, and he explained to me also that he never in his life ever posted a personal ad or answered a personal ad, but for some reason he put a personal ad in my paper when he lived up in Santa Rosa and I lived in the Bay Area. So it was kind of funny. And it turned out to be a romantic relationship, but really more of a spiritual buddy. And an important relationship for me because not long after that, he had come home from a trip in Santa Rosa. He was standing on a street corner waiting for a taxi, or they had taxis back then, you know, it was the 90s. And While he was waiting, he walked across the street to this bar where they had some flyers outside, and he was reading the flyers, and there was a flyer that said that Aja Shanti, the non-dual teacher, was going to be giving satsang in Santa Rosa on Sunday. And so he came home. He came back when I saw him next. He said, "Let's go to Aja. This guy's. I've never heard of him, but let's go to his satsang." So we went to a satsang on Sunday, and the rest is history, really. There were only 6 people in that satsang. That was the year that Adyashanti's Sangha exploded, and he started to become really well known, and he never had less than 50 people attending, and shortly thereafter he had hundreds. But I met him in a satsang where I and my boyfriend were one of 6 people, and he had never come to Santa Rosa before, and he had never went to Santa Rosa again. And so that was also, it just seems so very divinely guided. I mean, what are the chances? So he was the teacher that changed my life. He said to me, "You can awaken. If I can awaken, you too can awaken." And he was such a simple, unassuming young man. He's a little bit younger than me, that I thought, oh, well, yeah. So as I said, the rest is history. I actually awakened 6 weeks later. So, and my boyfriend and I broke up right after that satsang. We were done. And there was no animosity or anything. It's just that we both could see that it just really wasn't about any kind of a relationship between us.
That's a great story.
Yeah.
It's so wonderful when we're led, if we look back on our life and we see all the times we were led to the right people at the right time in this wonderful universe. So, having channeled 25 books, how did that start for you? I mean, what was it like for you in the beginning, or when did you even first encounter the idea of channeling itself? I'm curious.
Yeah. Well, when I was 33 years old, I lived out in rural Wisconsin. I had no money. I was really not that happy about living there any longer. I wanted to move to Madison. I was thinking about moving to Madison. So I was in a transition kind of period. And someone that I knew said to me, "There's going to be a channel visiting Spring Green, and you should go see her." And I'm like, "What's a channel?" I didn't really know what a channel was. And they explained what that was, and I said, "Oh, okay." So even though it was an hour and a half away to drive, and I would have to pay money that was really a stretch for me, somehow I found myself going to this channel, and I had a channel reading with her. And when all of my questions were answered and the hour was up, to her surprise and to my surprise, the being said, "You can reach this level of reality. Feel free to contact us." And she said that the channel said, "This has never happened to me where I've gotten a message like that." And they've said that. So, so that was curious. I didn't know what it meant. But the rest of the reading was very positive about, yes, you're in a transformative phase and be open to changes. And so shortly after that, I did move to Madison, Wisconsin, and signed up for getting a master's degree. And but that's another thing too, is when I was in rural Wisconsin, I thought, well, how can I get to Madison? How can I don't have any money. How can I get a master's degree? And I was talking to somebody at a party, and she was even poorer than I was, and she was going to move to Madison and go to school. And I said, how do you do that? And out of her mouth said, I'll get a loan. It was like, oh, ding, ding, ding. I mean, how silly that I didn't even think of that. But this is how mouthpieces of spirit works. People tell us what we need to hear. And from that moment on, it was like, oh, okay, if she can do it, I can do it, right? And so that was the beauty of it. I moved to Madison, and 3 years later, I'm in my house, and all of a sudden, and you know how when you're thinking inside yourself, sometimes you raise questions, right? And I raised a question once, and all of a sudden I heard a voice answer it. And it was not my voice. It was not the usual voice in your head, right? And I listened, and then I asked another question, and I heard an answer. And then I would walk around the house, and I'd keep asking questions and getting answers. And before I knew it, I'm like, what is going on? I could get it. I could chant. And then I realized, oh, this is channeling. And I was fascinated by it. And the rest of the story is on my back gap interview. It's been a long journey, but I will skip ahead and just let me say that after a year of being involved in channeling and not being a grounded person and not being a person who had done enough work on myself or spiritual work, I had trouble with my channeling, and I wasn't always consistently connecting with higher beings. And so at the end of that year, I said, I am not ready to be a channel. And I stopped channeling. Now, the story is much more harrowing and intricate than that on backgap.com, but I'll leave it at that. And then as soon as I stopped channeling, I met my second husband, who was a healer. And I moved in with him, and he started doing healing work on me. He's a clairsentient energy worker. And I also started meditating 2 hours a day. And he was supporting me at the time. Yay, the universe gave me a means of support. And he was supporting me, so I had the time to meditate for hours a day. And I did that every single day. We eventually broke up, but after 7 years. But for 12 years, until I awakened in 1999, I meditated for 2 hours a day. And I also spent a lot of time alone, a lot of time in nature, a lot of time running to music, doing things that raise my consciousness. These are all things that I've talked about in other courses and interviews. All of the things that put us in alignment with the divine self, like singing and dancing and running to music and listening to music and being by yourself and really dedicating yourself to spirituality. So, I just was just one track mind on spirituality being number one, wanting to develop my capacity as an astrologer. And that also really developed my intuition because it's a symbol system. So I was studying tarot cards and I was studying astrology. And once I put myself in position of counselor using astrology, the intuition really opened up, because when you put yourself into service and you've prepared yourself by studying and using such a symbol system, which activates your intuition, then the guidance starts just coming. And so I'd sit down and the guidance would just be there. And I felt like I was channeling in my astrology readings. So that developed my intuition, using it in that way. So putting yourself in service and asking to be a channel, to be an instrument, is a really powerful means of advancing your own intuition, because you're doing it for others.
Yeah, yeah. And I want to go back to just what you are alluding to, that you didn't go into the story, but discernment is really, really key when we're channeling. It's absolutely key. And so, part of the container of this course is so that you can get some guidance as you're practicing these tools and opening up your divine gifts and birthright. We all have these different gifts and abilities. We all have intuition, but sometimes when we're held in a safe container and when we have people that have been practicing it a long time and we can ask questions, we can start to understand how to discern between high vibrational energies and non-conditional beings and
Mm.
other beings who we might not want to be playing with or hanging out with. And that's really important
It's
in the
so
world of
important.
intuition. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so important because that's what was absent for me. I had no context for for my channel opening. I didn't know anything about the beings who lived in other realms, what they might be up to. I didn't know there were negative beings that could mess with you. I didn't know about grounding really or discernment. And I couldn't tell the difference between when a higher being was speaking to me, which was a lot of the time when my channel first opened up, it was so confusing because so much of the time I was being worked on like with therapy. I was being given guidance and insights about my life that were very healing. And then it's like they would step aside and say, okay, time for your lessons with the tricksters. And then the tricksters would come in and I wouldn't know they were different from the wise beings I was speaking to because I couldn't sense the difference in their energy at the time. And it wasn't until I started practicing meditation and did some healing work and just grew more spiritually and learned more that I was able to open up my channel again in a safe way and able to discern and tell who I was speaking to because every being has a specific energy imprint and you learn to be able to feel that energy imprint and recognize the being from that energy imprint. And that would be a kind of a clairsentient thing.
Hmm. Yeah. And what we're pointing you towards during this hour is really developing your own wisdom. The voice of intuition is the voice of your spirit, your true self. And we need that, especially during these times. I feel like there is the rise of intuition with the rise of the divine feminine and equal balance with the divine masculine that we have for so long suppressed the intuition because it has been considered a more feminine attribute. And it needs to be reawakened and hold it up because it's really what's going to help us navigate through this human maze. There's no other way. I mean, you can go to psychics all the time, but that isn't going to do it. Trust me, I tried that. And so what we really need to do is find our own voice of truth, our own resonance. And that voice of truth is the true self speaking, which is outside of the faculty of the egoic mind. And
Yes,
that's when life gets interesting.
right. And it's not necessarily a voice. In fact, more often than not, it will not be a voice unless you're a channel, a pretty developed channel. It will not be a voice in your head. Um, so it's important to understand that what we're talking about is more like downloads, ahas, senses of yes and no, just a knowing, just a general knowing. And when it comes in that form as just a boom knowing, that's really wonderful. It's unequivocal when it just lands like that. And that is when the intuition is fully developed, you cannot go against it. You know it for certain, and it just hits you so hard. And that's been my experience is as my intuition developed, it just hits me so hard. I have to, if I'm speaking to somebody, I feel compelled to say it, and I know it's true. There's a certain feeling that comes with that, and same thing with my own life in terms of guidance. It's like boom, it just lands inside of me, and most of the time, it doesn't even land as a voice, even though I'm a channel, because hearing a voice and having someone tell you something is not as efficient as boom, this download, just this knowing just happening in you. I mean, you get whole paragraphs in that download, right? Instantly. And if
Mhm.
it would be very cumbersome if your guide had to spell it all out in sentences in English language. So it's actually, more functional and more wonderful for it to just come that way as a really clear download. So that is what's possible.
Yeah. And, that's how we communicate in spirit. It's all done that way.
Mhm.
It's all done that way. And, claircognizance is what Gina's talking about. And that's the one I find I've been teaching intuition development for about 20 years. That is the one that most people overlook the most because it's so quick. It's so instant. And the mind discounts it because it's so much faster than, right? The mind is very slow compared to our intuition. And so it overrides. But what happens, like Gina's saying, now it can't be ignored because it's a muscle that you
Mhm.
build. And so as you start building it, it gets stronger and stronger. And so that becomes the more powerful thing inside of you is your intuition than the chatter of the mind, the mental chatter. And that's really exciting when that happens. It's really
Yeah.
exciting when
Yeah,
that
and
shift
then
happens.
you have to watch out for the mind coming in afterwards, after you've gotten that great knowing. Your mind will definitely come in afterwards, and so will other people's minds. If you tell them your aha, they're bound to poke holes in it. And so, that's the trick then. No, but like I said, at a certain point, it becomes so strong and you've learned to trust it so much that you just can't go against it any longer. And sometimes it means that you sort of have to go it alone with, in terms of walking away from certain people, or just not being worried about what other people think, or just uh, being true to that, despite what people around you might, despite that they might disagree with what you think you need to do. And that happens all the time in all of our lives. We People feel this calling when their life is changing. They feel a certain calling to move in a certain direction, and they don't know why. And a lot of times, intuition doesn't make sense at all to our rational mind or to other people's rational minds, and they think you're going off the deep end, that you're crazy, but you're not. You're following that inner guidance. So that's always tricky. But everybody does have positive experiences and stories they could tell about when they were brave enough to do that and how great that worked out. And, who knew? Who
Yeah.
knew?
And we're not crazy. We're just out of our mind.
Yeah, there you
And,
go.
that's what I always say. We want to be out of our minds. We
Mm,
actually want to be out of our minds and to live that way,
mm,
and to really be in that flow and that peace and freedom. And, I wanted to share a little bit about how this course came about because it was completely guided. And it was really funny how it happened. A number of months ago, well, it was last year, I I was, walking around, Sedona where I live, hiking, and it was over a period of about 2 weeks. And every time I bumped into a stranger, anytime I bumped into someone, they would say something to me like, I want to develop my intuition. I want to learn intuition. Do you have any good books on intuition development? I mean, this happened like with 12 people in the court, like every single person I bumped into. And so I was thinking, and I pay attention, I know, like, okay, I hear you. Okay, these people are being a mouthpiece, for spirit, right? They're a lot. And so I was talking to Gina one day on the phone. I said, Spirit is telling me I'm supposed to do a course on intuition development. And so I think I am. And then Gina said, oh, great. Well, she called me up the next day and said, Jesus said we're supposed to do it together. So there it was, and that's how we came together. And this particular course is very lofty because it's Gina channeling all this wonderful information via Jesus on intuition, and my years and years and years of teaching and studying and practicing intuition development together in one course. And part of the container, Gina, do you want to talk a little bit about what happens in the container of the course?
Well, I think this course is really this is a wonderful topic to do on an online course that has a forum like we have, because there's an opportunity for people to put in their experiences into the forum and then to read everybody else's experiences of their intuition working, or even their difficulties with trusting it. But to put in to have so many experiences from people to read through is really helps fortify your own trust in your own intuition. And so I think that's a real boon. And I also think it's really nice for a lot of people to be starting within a few weeks of each other, as is happening now with joining the course early in the beginning here, because there's such a group of people doing it at the same time, and more opportunity for that forum to be a real forum. And so a big part of this course is for people to write in their journal, have an evidence journal of how their intuition is working and when they've trusted it and how it's worked for them. So what you have then is everyone's evidence journals being available to everyone else in a sense. And that can only magnify and help everybody to trust their own intuition, to see all of these stories about how it's working for them. So I think this is a great course subject to have in a course like this with a forum. And of course, we're also available to answer questions, both of us, if there are questions that come up for people.
Yeah, and we're offering a $50 off just till the end of this month. So it's also a good opportunity to take advantage of that as well. And there's something that's going on, because I always find this in the energetics of this co-creation, because we're working with the subtle realms, and so much is happening on so many levels, that when you sign up, gifts begin to open. And I find this happens in these containers, because it's not just your intention, it's your intention that you bring in everybody else and everybody else's energy in the course, and all the divine beings who are creating the space for that. And I believe the reason they want us to really focus on this is because this is the way through in today's world. This is the most important thing, because without knowing that truth that lives within us, how do we discern what's aligned and what isn't? How do we navigate through the challenges and difficulties that are here today and coming tomorrow? And how do we step into, why we incarnated in the first place, right?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, is that a lot of people who are interested in taking this course are people who are healers, helpers, servers, whose life purpose is to use their intuition to help others. And I'm sort of losing my train of thought here. But
Yeah.
it's a way for people to open their, let's say, their life purpose is already to open up their intuition. And so they find their way to a course like this because they're here to serve and to heal and to help others. And so I expect that a lot of you are here for that reason. It's time for you to open up your gifts. You already had some of these gifts before you even came into this life, and now it's time for them to open up. And so you found a tool, a means through this course to help you to further that opening and the right kind of support for your life purpose. So I know that a lot of you are here to serve in ways that use your intuition.
Yeah. Yeah. And, to bring you more joy, quite
Yeah.
frankly, because it's sort of, we're accessing that high heart, and innate in us is that joy. And when we're discerning what is joyous to us, we can incorporate more and more of that in our life, which is so critical right
Well,
now.
yeah, to develop your intuition, we're also talking about raising your vibration. We're talking about living in alignment with the divine self. And, so that's, that's the purpose of doing this.
Yeah. So I want to take you through a intuition activation meditation. And in this, there'll be an activation happening energetically for you. But there are also a lot of wonderful tools that I'm going to elicit in this guided meditation that you can start using right now in your life to supercharge your intuition. And they really work, they're really effective. So I want you to get as much as you can out of this experience. And we will also be posting this as a recording. So you can obviously come back and redo this meditation, which I would recommend, to, to learn the tools that I'm eliciting in the meditation, but also to experience the activation that's going to come with this. So let me just get the music ready. And we'll go into that. And Gina, if there's anything you want to add while I'm pulling up the music.
Hmm.
There might not be, but
No.
yeah,
It's
we're
odd for me to be speechless, but perhaps.
there we go.
Hmm.
So just getting yourself comfortable. Closing your eyes if that feels good to you. And as you touch your high spiritual heart, you bring your consciousness, your focus here. And imagine now a beautiful rose is right at the center of your high heart. And it begins to open. And this brilliant light begins to radiate out as the petals gently unfold. More and more light, radiant, brilliant light. Your divine essence is filling your heart. and you feel a felt sense of peace and compassion. And now you bring your awareness to the center of your head, your third eye, visualizing a beautiful rose closed in a bud. As the petals begin to slowly unfold, and a brilliant light begins to emerge, radiant. This light of awareness filling your mind with divine mind. Now feeling these two radiant lights, as your light of awareness in your head begins to merge into your high heart light, and they become one brilliant light. As your entire space becomes luminous and filled with this emanation of your spirit. As you begin to breathe in on the in-breath, saying to yourself, your divine self, I love you. And as you breathe out, saying to yourself, your divine self, I am listening. Breathing in, I love you. Breathing out, I am listening. Breathing in, I love you. Breathing out, I am listening. I love you. I am listening. I love you. I am listening. I love you. I am listening. As you merge with this light, and allow your intuition now to answer this question. What do I need to know right now? What do I need to know right now? Let that drop in. What do I need to know right now? And however you receive that message, maybe symbolically, maybe as a felt sense, maybe as a direct knowing, begin to jot that down, even if you don't understand what you receive. Just allowing yourself to have that answer, to trust your truth. And as you feel ready, you can open your eyes and just notice any subtle differences in your awareness and how you feel. Jotting down anything that you received. Not trying to figure it out with your mind. Jotting down, perhaps it was a symbol, or maybe you heard a message. Maybe you felt a nudge in a certain direction. Just jotting that down now. And if you'd like to share in the chat, you can. What you might have received or anything you experienced while we were doing that guided meditation. Beautiful. So some of the messages, now is the time, someone heard. Rest and low stimulation over the next week. Beautiful. Love is a blessing in my eternal mind. It's okay, you are on the right path. What a great message. Oh, these are wonderful. I am loved and supported. You are loved and protected. Relax, stay calm, all will pass. You are held. Beautiful, beautiful. Let the divine fire in you burn. Yes. Beautiful. We are equal, do not judge. Yes. A lot of wonderful truth. God is with us. Forgiveness. We are all humans. This is great. I love it. I love how your intuition is so acute already. I am safe. You are not alone. You know, and one of the things that we are seeing in that very short meditation, we just created the space for it. You see, we just created a little bit of space, a little bit of space, a little bit of intention and attention. And our intuition blossoms because it's the most natural thing. It's so natural. And if you've spent any time around young children, you know that, right? You see how intuitive they are, you know? And we somehow that's conditioned out of us in our culture. And it really needs to come back because it's really the way we're going to care for ourselves, care for the ones we love, and care for the world. You know, because we begin to connect to the earth in a new way, to hear her, to her creatures. And, you know, we have this different relationship of interconnection that we sense, we feel, we know. Yeah. These are beautiful. You are worthy. You are where you are supposed to be. You are not alone. I am safe. Wonderful, wonderful. Wonderful messages. Excellent. So I'm just going to.
Yeah, that was beautiful, Jenai.
Yeah,
Guess why I love you. You're such a beautiful channel.
I love you too, Gina. And we're just, you know, when we come together in this way, it's just, you know, our hearts open and more love pours out, you know, and I could feel all the people that are here. I could really feel your love. It's so wonderful to marinate together like this. And, you know, I want to just encourage you And I always say this when people come to me for coaching or anything else. I always say, you know, check in with your intuition, whether this is aligned or not, right? And we'll encourage you with this course, check in with you. Is this aligned for me? Your intuition will tell you if it is or not. And we want you to trust your intuition, whatever it says. Yeah. So we have a few more minutes. If someone had a question or anything like that, you could post it. Or Gina, if you had any last words, we have just a few more minutes.
Well, I think we did cover a lot. Yeah. I mean, the stories are infinite. Jenai, you're the one who has so many stories. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I do. I do.
I think,
My friends say that to me. They say, "Oh, Jenai, how does this happen to you?" And I have two responses. One is I'm a little dense, and I need it that way. I need it very clear. But the other is, and I really want to leave you with this because this is something I think that has helped me enormously. I mean, I would say it is the biggest factor. And I've been saying this prayer for decades, and I'm going to share it with you. It's really supercharged my intuition. And I think it's because I ask, and what I pray for every day is please, well, I say thank you. Thank you for giving me clear and direct guidance and the courage to follow it. Because I was getting guidance before and then I didn't have the courage to act on it. So those two things, I would say asking, is so important. And then the courage to follow it. And the more we do it little by little, we build that muscle and then it becomes our nature, and it becomes very easy, like Gina was talking about earlier. So I want to leave you with that because, whether you use mine or you come up with your own, every day you make that statement, it's going to happen because you set intention.
yeah, I think one of the goals that I hope for all of you who are taking the course is that you can begin to feel like you are always being guided, always connected, always loved, always supported, as I have throughout the years. It's easy for me. I've been channeling since 1986. It's easy for me to feel like I'm not alone and that I'm part of some beautiful guidance and intelligence that is part of this world because I'm able to hear it. So it's been part of my life for so long. I kind of take it for granted, forgetting that other people don't have that sense. But when I walk around my day, I'm always feeling like I'm not alone. I'm always feeling like they're right there. And I want you to be able to feel that too. And part of being able to feel that is for you to remind yourself all day long that they are there. So you have to remind yourself that they are there, and that develops the sense and the trust that they are there. And then it invites them to come forward and to be more involved in your life. They're always involved. Our guides and teachers are always they're involved in everyone's life to some extent. But the more you invite that, the more you acknowledge their presence, the more it becomes a moment to moment experience for you. And I wish that for all of you because it's so hard to be human. And without that, it's so much harder. So it'll just ease the way so much to have that sense that these beings have your back, that they are for you, that they are always loving you and always supporting you. And that is absolutely the truth. I know it for sure.
Absolutely. There's a couple questions here in the chat. it's someone, Heidi's asking, can someone ask questions? And we have places in the course. We have a Q&A in every module where you can ask questions. There's also, you can ask a question in any activity. There's a lot of places where you can ask questions and you'll get a response from us. And then someone asked, well, how can I sign up? How can I register? I posted a link in the chat. You can either go to spiritcoachtraining.com/intuition or Gina's site, radicalhappiness.com/
Online courses, and then
online
there's a
course.
list of my online courses, and there's a page for living intuitively.
Perfect. Yeah.
Mhm.
And you can find out more about the course. And we hope you can join us. And let me see if there's anything else. I think we answered all the questions for now.
I
So
think I have one more, excuse me for interrupting your namaste.
it's okay. I can hold it. It feels good.
I want to say that the online course, it's self-directed, so you can do it at your own pace. You can join, people are joining at different times. So we have a forum that, but it is something that you do and you commit to it and you put the energy that you choose to put in, and it's your course. You'll always have access to it. I just love the whole concept of these self-directed courses. They work really well for people because not everybody has the same amount of time to devote to courses. You know, some people are retired, some people are not retired and they're working and they have children even. And so, you know, however long it takes you, that's fine. Just do it at your own pace in the way that you want. And there's also nothing to lose because there's a money back guarantee for 30 days. So, you know, you can even just give it a try. But I think that your intuition probably would be probably pretty clear about whether it's right for you or not right now.
Yeah, thanks, Gina. And, I just want to address Robin. She asked, I think she's referring to the meditation, what if I got no message? And that's okay, Robin, because what I would suggest is you go back and you do the meditation again. And also, maybe it's not going to come right then. Maybe it'll
Yeah.
come when you're washing the dishes later tonight or getting in the shower or waking up. And that's the thing. We need to pay attention because it will come. It just might not come on demand, like the course. The course is on demand. But sometimes your intuition it doesn't come in the moment that we want it necessarily. And that's okay. That
Yeah.
is okay. That's just part of how it works. And it's
Mhm.
just fun. It'll drop in. So you'll have to let us know when it does.
Yeah, and in a way, it's very trustworthy. If you're like washing the dishes and all of a sudden, for no good reason, you just get an aha, you know, um, that you can really trust that you weren't thinking about it.
Yeah. And this recording will be posted, I believe, on YouTube. We'll send out an email about it so that you'll have access to it. All
Yeah.
right.
Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you. Namaste, dear ones. It's so wonderful to be with you in this way. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Much love. Divine blessings.
Mm.